Modern American society thrives on the backs of idiots like you. And me. I don't use that term pejoratively, only as a means of being cogent and unequivocal. Many of us spend our days playing a fool, mere bodies to buttress the structure of a society resolved on destroying itself. We talk a lot about how social media has created shorter attention spans as a means of justifying our unwillingness to do the hard work of caring long enough about any one problem to ever do anything about it. We spend hours devouring cute cat videos and funny memes, and while I won't pretend I don't laugh at the absolute stupid shit people find themselves doing on the internet, please, keep it coming. I often think back to when I was growing up, having to walk or take an expensive taxi miles away to a library or an internet cafe if I had a question left unanswered by the people or books around me. Now, that information is instant. Sure, it might take some digging through the sludge of internet misinformation and nonsense to get there, but still. And with the evolution of AI, I can cross-reference articles with anecdotal evidence from a 23-year-old in Israel about why the youth there are becoming more radicalized to the right, and how we've gotten to this point again where some of us are still justifying genocide. Sure, our education system is in tatters. Exhausted veteran teachers are bowing out of the profession, and poorly funded public schools are shuttering their doors all across the country, shoveling more poor kids into charter schools and private schools, if they're lucky, or into the hands of the carceral system to be used and abused if they're not. We quite literally fund medical research to supposedly heal the sick and wounded, then give away the intellectual property for the drugs produced through this research to corporations that turn around and charge us 10,000 times the price to produce that drug and pretend that what we're doing here makes any goddamn sense. All of this because so many of us choose to play stupid. Sure, you're probably saying, fuck this guy. This shit is way more complicated than he's making it out to be. Yeah, I'll give you that. It is complicated. But you see, most of the problems we face are complicated for the sake of being complicated, so that it feels almost impossible to solve. We're told we can't do anything about our broken healthcare system because healthcare is just too complicated. While the same people feeding us this lie legislate more power into the hands of pharmaceutical companies. We're told we can't do anything about police violence, so let's just give them more money, protect their right to shoot now and ask questions later, and see how it goes. We're told there's nothing we can do about guns, while we allow the gun lobby to control the people who make the laws. All the while we're told to indulge in all the luxuries of being an American, while those same comforts blind us to our helpful hand in the destruction of the people around us in this country and the rest of the world who weren't afforded any illusion of comfort. The truth is, most of us, in fact, I'll argue almost all of us, are uncomfortable. Comfort in just being, not needing more, not wanting more, is only afforded to a select few lucky bastards, myself wholly unincluded. Life is fucking uncomfortable and shows no sign of letting up after 3.7 billion years on this earth. You see, I've somehow met some pretty wealthy people in my day, a couple billionaires even, who couldn't chart a path to comfort if the destination was just across the street. So they buy more, they take more, never fully being satisfied with their bounty. I'm deeply uncomfortable myself. For instance, my entire life I was considered one of the smart kids. But I don't say that to brag. In fact, I kind of envy the average kids a lot. They got a chance to fail in peace. They learned how to be okay with not being good at something at first, and learned failure as an integral part of the process of growth, instead of a nuisance to avoid at all costs. For the longest time, I thought my brain was malfunctioning because concentration felt like rocket science in and of itself. So everything would take forever for me to get done, and I'd be left completely exhausted at the end of every day. You see, even in being considered smart, I still had a massive disconnection with how I was taught to learn. Learning felt like a waste of time. I was just learning things just to say I knew them. And during that time, I never felt much motivation to do anything. And I realized learning wasn't the problem. It was the application I was missing. I needed a reason to seek knowledge, a way to piece together the facts and random tidbits into a web of sense, or as I like to say, historical context. Uncovering why things are the way they are, and filling in the outlines of my understanding gave me a reason to want to keep going. This historical context is my hope, not some crap about politicians having our best interests at heart or some miraculous force waving a hand to solve all my problems. Knowing just how much of a product of those who came before me I am reminds me how much I have to be for those who come after, in whatever little ways I can. None of us are getting out of this life thing unscathed, and it's so easy to lose yourself, now more than ever, in some virtual realm. But it's your responsibility, as it's mine, to never stray too far away from that self. You know the saying, you're no good to anyone else if you don't take care of yourself? I think it applies perfectly to this idea of keeping your mind sharp, staying curious, never being too satisfied with the way things are or has always been. I think we forget how many years we spend soaking up unchallenged ideas from our family and friends who will likely receive faulty information from their communities too. It's like we've all been playing the worst game of telephone since the beginning of time, and now the truth is so jumbled that we're all unsure what's real anymore, what really matters. The responsibility, the heavy lifting of holding on tight to your curiosity is so crucial in this age of information overload. You have to want to know, or you run the risk of having others decide what you know. You gotta let your empathy, for those of us who still have any, to guide how you approach learning. Because if not, you'll be completely susceptible to becoming just another mouthpiece for the institutions and systems that feed off of your discomfort and ultimate demise. And while I get it, we're all battered and left with only enough energy to fight to make a living and just maybe get a little extra to feel good about ourselves if we can only muster up the willpower to chip away a few more coins from the capitalist gold mine. And maybe even come up with the fantasy that we're just trying to leave behind a financial legacy for our children. But what is holding pride in sentencing our children to a lifetime in a world worse than this one, a true capitalist wasteland, really worth? America loves stupid people because stupid people don't fight back against the worst parts of America. They don't envision any evolution in society, even though societies naturally evolve and actually tend to devolve over time unless its members actively work against that inclination towards destruction. Stupid people don't demand change. They simply go along to get along, and they're often the culprits behind the downfall of an empire. So in an effort to evade the shackles of idiocy, we're all tasked to find what little ways we can fight back against this lull of ignorance. I'm working on mine. What's yours?